Hello everyone. I know it's been a while since I posted anything, but I promise I'll get back to actively post again. This one is long, so please bear with me. Anyways, I have another encounter I wanted to share. I was about 12 at that time again. Sorry, I know I skip events, and I know you guys wanted to hear my previous ones, but I promise I'll get to it ASAP. Well, anyways, let's begin. It was February and close to Valentine's. Basically, it was only like 2 days away. So that Monday, me and my friends made plans to hang out that weekend to celebrate Valentine's instead of Wednesday. The plan was simple. We go to this restaurant, we eat, have fun, then we after that then we go to Jason's house to play, you know, board games and card games. We finalized our plans and we pretty much ended that conversation. Well, that conversation we had was in class. Our teacher didn't show up yet. So we pretty much were discussing it until our teacher did show up. When our teacher showed up to the classroom, she said, "Before I could begin our session, I just wanted to introduce a new student." And it was a creepy kid named Ben. To describe him, he had this pale white skin like snow. He dressed in clothes almost like Victorian, but he was covered in all black. His hair covered his eyes, and I don't understand how he can see. So when he walked in, all of my friends were startled. Like, oh crap, like, oh shh. So basically, they had the OS moment. Ben didn't speak. He just stood there like a creepy statue. We're just like, oh gosh. Uh, doesn't even speak? Jeez. And so basically, the teacher couldn't do anything, so she gestured Ben to have a seat. When he walked, he had the slow dragging motion as he walked. When he walked past, I could hear my friends' thoughts. Like they were praying and whining that they didn't want Ben to sit next to them. But he ended up sitting behind Jason, my best friend. Jason gave me this scared, help me look as he stood there, and he pretty much sat there and frozen in fear. But he kind of just had that help me look, and I coldly just turned my head away, like saying pretty much like no. After school, and then my friends talked major crap about Ben. They told me their encounters in different classes with him. Like, I give you an example. Yeah, when we're sitting, all our laughter has just died. Yeah, man. Honestly, I didn't feel like I didn't. Man, I felt like the devil was in the room with us. We couldn't speak anymore. And every time I would speak something, he would turn his creepy head around. And honestly, I would just have to finish up and just not say anything else anymore. Pretty much everybody told me their encounters, and I honestly didn't really care, so I ignored it. The next day, our middle school had an event called Valentine's Eve. Pretty much, it's a secret admirer thing. Basically, you gave a gift and you wrap it in a box with the note attached, sending pretty much just two notes. One note is where the information on who it is, and where their classroom is, and where pretty much who you wanted to send to. And the other note is where you wanted to say anything on there, right? And pretty much there was two notes. One note is pretty much on the outside. Pretty much on the outside, it had like a sticky. It could be anything like a sticky note, or like a taped note. On the outside, it says who you wanted to send it to. The note inside is where after, let's say, I'll give you an example. Like a Christmas present. When you unwrap it, there's already another note inside. Well, pretty much after you wrap it up and after you wrote, on whoever you wanted to send it to, you brought your gift to the assembly room and placed it on the table when you're done. Well, logically, you just couldn't go there whenever you wanted, but simply on a certain time periods. So, not in order for in order not to make things so complicated and so obvious, and we didn't want all of our friends to kind of just see, who sent who, and pretty much it made it very, very awkward. So my friends decided that we would go there. We would go there separately on our own, and yes, that includes all my friends and includes my female friends also. Well, when school was almost done, I had my last study class period, but I was bored. Pretty much, I couldn't do anything else, and besides, I didn't really care anymore, so I decided to skip it. I went to the assembly room and submitted my gifts, and then went to the bathroom with my phone until school was over. No, it was 35 minutes. I know you guys are gonna probably say something like, "Why I skipped?" It's 35 minutes. Just get over with it. So, anyways, after school ended, I walked home with my friends. What was crazy was I noticed the new kid Ben when he walked home. Pretty much, he was already walking home alone, but like he was already pretty far away. He was surrounded by ravens as he walked. It gave me a very creepy vibe, and I knew what religion of magic he was, but I couldn't figure out what he knew. Basically, the big day of Valentine's Day came by. Beginning of their class, well, pretty much the whole school, the whole day on Valentine's, and especially on like special cases of holidays like that, there was no studies. We received our gifts, in which everyone was happy. Everyone is happy and delighted, except for my girlfriend Julie. She opened the box just to find a dead raven inside. Scared, she threw it. She threw it, and I came by to check on her. See, what was more bizarre was the note, the second note that was attached on pretty much the box. It says die, you know, B, the female dog. But quickly, the letters on the note just vanished. So there was just a blank sticky note that was there. It vanished after 10 seconds of looking at it. And to my surprise, when I looked up, I found Ben peeking outside the classroom. And the classroom door wasn't closed, it was open. And he must have saw me and ran, in which me and Jason took off after him. We pretty much chased him all the way to the school's roof. And when I got to the edge with him, I confronted him. I, of course, held him by his collar and demanded an answer. He didn't say anything, but only chuckled. Like, I don't know what the heck his problem is, but I'm like, yo, are you serious? And I was dragging him, and he just had a smirk on his face. So he ended up pulling me, and we were falling off the roof. Jason finally caught up just in time to save me, grabbing my feet. He did save me, but what's worse was that Ben kid really did fall off the roof. He did. And he fell, of course, and Jason pulled me up. I thanked him, I thanked him. I was like, boy, that was close. Thank you, brother. He said, yeah, no problem, man. Oh, yeah, what happened to the other guy? Then we looked. The thing was, Ben got up in an unusual way. We can hear the bones cracking at this far distance. And his head was 180 degrees staring back at us, in which he readjusted his head, pretty much turning it the other way. I know it's very cringy and very, very creepy to look at, but that's what he did. Dude, he turned it back to normal and finally just ran off with pretty much his back was already kind of busted, but he cracked it back in place. So when he ran, he kind of looked like those anime from like Attack on Titans, when the Titan that kind of runs in an unusual way. That's how he ran. So pretty much, school pretty much ended, and it was no longer fun for us because of the events of Ben. Me and Julie, of course, when I got back to her, we argued. She thought it was me pulling a sick joke of a prank on her. Yes, it's because of my nature back then. I was pretty much very, very, very silly. I'm still somewhat is, but I'm not as much as I used to when I was at that age, and at that time. And because I am a Wuxia, pretty much another word is shaman. So she thought I practiced the devil's magic, and I played her as a fool. Well, I tried to convince her, saying no. And Jason was with me at that time. He pretty much said, no, I was his witness. I was his witness as well as Scott's. And pretty much she didn't believe. Now, Jason, on the other hand, is the opposite of me. Anything and everything he says is more like a dead on serious. But she didn't believe me. So, pretty much we stormed off on our own way when school ended. And I went home. I went home. I couldn't do anything. I no longer had fun, despite all the candy I had, of course. But yet, that night I went to sleep. And I suddenly woke up with my phone ringing. It was about close to 11 o'clock, 11 or to 12 when Julie's mom called. Hello? I answered. I asked. And Alka here is crying. Crying, like, Daniel, you gotta help me, I think Julie's in trouble. I'm like, ma'am, please, calm down. I'm trying to understand you, but I can't understand you when you're stuttering and you're crying so much. That's when I heard a really loud growl from the other line. Says, please help me. Someone is in my daughter's room. And I said, ma'am, I'll be right there. I hung up and ran to her house with some of the equipment I could carry. When I arrived, you know, I was greeted by the mom, and the mom was crying. And the thing was, I went in. Of course, she let me in, but Julie's door was locked, and I could hear and sense the vibration in there, and the growl was still happening. So I pretty much knocked the door down to find the window wide open, and I found Julie having a seizure. So I immediately placed all my equipment and did my ritual. It was long and extremely exhausting. She ended up puking these weird looking herbs and worms. And you think it ended there? No, it hadn't. So I collected them and did my spell to counterattack. No matter how much I did, no matter what spell I used, no matter how much I chanted, nothing worked. Until I looked to the corner of the room and I saw the same gift box that Julie had from school. So I pretty much went and I took that box right with me, and I did the spell. I did this pretty much a straw doll. It's kind of like voodoo almost, but it's Chinese. So to explain this right is when that straw doll, I pretty much took a talisman. I took out pretty much chicken's blood and ink mixed in together, and I wrote in Ben's full name. And I've burned some incense and I did my ritual. Pretty much I did the same thing as pretty much like a voodoo person would do, for the dolls. I ended up torturing him until he couldn't bear it anymore. That's when I heard someone land on the roof. It was a loud thud. The same growl I heard on the phone is now outside on the roof. And I had to pause. I had to pause just to process what I was hearing. I turned to Julie's mom and I told her to stay at the room at all cost and not to leave. I pretty much took the talisman shut the window, and I put it on the window, and I put it on the door. Just as an insurance policy's protection, that they are guaranteed safe when pretty much I am not there. So I went outside to find the ghost on the roof. She's about 10 feet tall with long hair and half-torn dress, like how you saw almost in the picture. She would crawl on all fours with 6 different arms. And she would have this like loud growl and hissing sound. And she would scream. She would scream, and you could hear dogs nearby and the neighbors barking and shouting. Like, no, I'm sorry, not shouting, barking and growling at her. And the thing was, when she crawled, right, we pretty much we fought each other. And I fought her using magic. And I kept fighting with her until 5 a.m. Until 5 a.m. I ended up destroying her, and she vanished. And I went back inside, exhausted and tired, yet I healed Julie. She was fine afterwards, just extremely weak, and she was just extremely weak. We pretty much made amends with each other, and she apologized, of course. I didn't mind too much. So I ended up staying there the whole day and not going to school. About 9 a.m., Jason called me. He called me, and he said, dude, hey, Daniel, where you been, man? Why aren't you at school? I told him everything, and he said, look, you're gonna think I'm crazy or something. But hey, you remember that Ben kid? I said, yeah. What about the new kid? Yeah, Ben passed away in an unusual way. I said, how? He said he looked like a molded, gray, dried up tree. The strange fact is, it looked like all the fat from him is just gone. Like he's been dead for about 10 days. And I found that unusual. He said, Dan, did you do something to him? And I said, Jason, you don't want to go there. He said, all right then, I'll take your word for it. But anyways, this encounter ends here. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. Oh, before I make it a close, the very photo that you see is extremely similar how she looks like. That's not exact, but trust me, you deal with that kind of spirit, that spirit will give you a hard time and will not leave your life. And yes, that spirit is extremely real. But anyways, I hope you guys are doing safe, and I'll meet you guys in another story. And by the way, I will post another second video of a Hmong version. Thank you all. Goodbye.